civil rights movement in South Florida was really started by working class blacks who joined the NAACP, who paid their $5 and their $1 and $2 in membership. I was told by those who were active in the movement that there were a number of white people who helped the movement, a number of white attorneys who helped the movement. And I was told that blacks who were of wealth, and there were some, and those who had status such as teachers, refused to become actively involved in the civil rights movement for fear of losing their jobs.
I think that Miami was ahead of the civil rights movement, because when you bring up Virginia Key Beach, that was in the 40s. And so that's really ahead of the civil rights movement.
Some of the first lunch counter sit-ins that proved to be effective took place in downtown Miami, specifically at McCrory's, where there was a series of sit-ins with African Americans and some white demonstrators, mainly Jewish demonstrators, as far back as 1959, which predates the college students in Greensboro, North Carolina sit-in at Woolworths, which occurred in 1960. And those sit-ins led to the desegregation by at least 1960 of the lunch counter at McCrory's in downtown Miami, which was a 5 and dime store.
There were organizations such as the Colored Board of Trade and the Negro Uplift Association and the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. These were groups that blacks in these different communities formed to help organize and improve conditions for them, improve conditions in terms of the way they were treated by the police. You know, there's a tremendous amount of police brutality in the early period, and improve also the way the Klan had sort of a run over the city, the ability to be able to parade around and intimidate blacks. They also helped to get the first schools and the first 5 black police officers in the 1940s. So these were organizations where blacks decided that as a group they could get together and petition the city commission or petition other members of the city to be able to get the services that they deserved and the attention that they deserved for their own communities.
Father Theodore Gibson was the head of the largest NAACP chapter in Miami, and he and other members of NAACP refused to give up the membership list of the NAACP to state investigators. And Father Gibson was tried in court, found guilty of violating state law, and was actually sentenced to jail time for refusing to disclose who belonged to the NAACP.
He would bring us projects. He said, what are we going to work on? What do you think is it? And the first thing was education. Of course, you know, we worked on education. And the bus discrimination. And the golf course discrimination. And the beach discrimination.
I think in terms of breaking new ground, clearly the beach boycott, because here were people saying, we pay our taxes pay for these beaches, and we ought to be able to use the beach. That opens up a whole panorama and panoramic view of what's the potential for progress in race relations. And trust me, the people who went down there were brave, because they were really taking their life in their own hands.
We had put on our swimsuits underneath our clothes. And we walked out of the car and we walked between the officers straight down to the beach. And when we got there, Oscar Range Sr. and myself, we took off our shirts and pants, kicked off our sandals, and we went into the water. I think that was 1959. And we swam around and everybody else was looking, all the white people were looking. They hadn't seen this before either. And we stayed out about a half hour, and then we got back in our car, and nobody bothered us or anything. That day, the beaches of Miami-Dade County were integrated.